candy. I get happy when you party with me. Guess what? When I see you, yeah, yeah. Cole, I get a little happy. Happy when I see you. What? When I see you, yeah, 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 yeah. Listen, fellas.
No, I really can't complain. Wave. Everything is straight. Wave. I'm in it for keepsake. In the field with the cleat lace. Beat foot with the bare face and a slick tongue. That's what she say. She look good, she a big tease when she bite lip with the wink face. Hella bad when she throwing it back. She bring that my way for the team play.
Or whether or not this was a ricochet, that's something that they're still trying to get a handle on, and whether or not a piece of glass was what may have struck him. But either way, he obviously, from the photographs, was struck in some fashion by something. The other information that we were being told, and I'm going to bring in the reporting of my colleague Kelly O'Donnell on this as well, is that this shooting happened outside the Secret Service perimeter. So for folks that have attended any sort of political rally involving either party, involving a presidential candidate or a former president, you'll notice if you go that you are wanded or you have to go through a magnetometer, kind of like an airport-style security, if you will. That happens within the perimeter of the event. In leading up to the event, the U.S. Secret Service goes through the event site itself to make sure that there's nothing nefarious stored inside, that nobody's hiding out and waiting for a rally to begin. And they try to establish a perimeter that would allow them to be able to have a real control over the event. So what we're being told is that this shooting happened outside of that secure perimeter from a high point. Specifically where it is, I can't yet tell you. We're waiting to hear about that, but that's some of the information that we're waiting to get on. As far as what you're looking at on screen at the moments that this happened, this is standard protocol. You're looking at the heavy weapons teams that immediately went up on stage. Then you're looking at the Secret Service close protective detail of former President Trump, and this would be very similar at any event involving a former president, that they immediately surround him. Obviously, the Secret Service agents there are putting their lives into their hands if this individual was going to continue to fire. Speaking of the individual that law enforcement believes is deceased, that individual, the alleged shooter rather, is deceased, as I mentioned. That individual may have been shot by law enforcement. That appears to be coming into clarity at this time. We're still waiting on the specific details of that, whether or not that was a counter sniper team or somebody who was close to him. I suspect we'll get more details on that closely. As far as who did this and what their motivations are, there's some background information coming into view, Lester, but as you can imagine, there are a lot of names on social media at this hour. There are a lot of names that have been mentioned to us, and we're really trying to get a lot more clarity on that before we suggest a possible name of the individual who did this. But at this point, there appears to be no ongoing threat, and there's no indication that they're looking for anybody else. But this is now a full-blown federal criminal investigation, as you can imagine, and they will certainly try to determine whether this individual had any help. Not that we've received any indication of that, but that's obviously something that they will look into. And the type of rifle that could be used, as you would imagine, to fire from outside the perimeter to get close to that stage would be some sort of a high-powered rifle. The specific nature of that is, again, details that we're still waiting to get, Lester.
All right, Tom, thanks very much. Let me go to Kristen Welker now in our Washington, D.C. bureau, who has more. Kristen?
Well, Lester, just to reset for everyone, we are tracking the ongoing investigation that Tom was just talking about in the wake of former President Trump having been rushed off the stage after shots were fired at the Pennsylvania rally where he was speaking. To set the scene for everyone, the day started with the anticipation, the questions swirling about whether this might be the event where he announced his nominee for vice president. Obviously now the mood, the tone, the focus has shifted to this horrific act of political violence that unfolded at this Pennsylvania rally. President Biden did address the nation just a short time ago, saying this is unheard of. Everybody must condemn it. He said he had tried to speak with the former president, had not been able to, but is continuing those attempts. He's also getting briefed. I want to go to our senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell, who is following all of this along with us. Kelly, what's the latest there?
Well, from the Biden White House perspective, this is a moment for trying to get information to the president. He, of course, is in charge of the Department of Justice and the Secret Service that are, of course, the agencies that will be working on this. There is always a careful separation between the executive and the law enforcement capabilities. But that's why the Biden White House has a critical role to play to provide the resources at the federal level to investigate this. The president indicated that he also recognizes that state and local officials are very much involved with this right now. Part of what will be a question going forward is what is the immediate change, if any, to the political calendar that is scheduled for this week, with the Republican National Convention expected to be in Milwaukee with lots of important events. Obviously, a full assessment of what is the condition of the former president right now. We don't have confirmed reporting yet about the state of that. When he left this event site, as the video indicates, of course, he was taken and has the resources around him for medical care. President Biden has said he wishes to speak to Donald Trump tonight. That can happen whenever the two are able to connect. That is not necessarily a vital piece in terms of next steps, but it is the kind of gesture and important connection that actually does send a message right now that this is not about the politics of the moment and that there are bigger issues here, with the current president and several former presidents talking about no room for political violence. We're hearing that from many elected officials on Capitol Hill as well. And right now, we're in a period of a few different streams of information. What is the investigation producing? What is known about the shooter involved? The extent to which this was some kind of an organized attempt? Were there others involved? All of those questions need to be sorted out. Then there's the political fallout. There is typically a quieting period after an unexpected event. Normally in campaigns, that would be something far less graphic than this. It might be the death of a loved one in a campaign. It might be a car accident. We've seen all those iterations before, and there's typically a quieting period where both campaigns turn down the volume. Everyone catches their breath before the rigor of a campaign resumes again. So this is a critical evening to gather facts, to get a sense of the scope of this, for direct communication between President Biden as a person and former President Donald Trump as a person, and not so much as candidates or in their office and former office. That's part of what's playing out here. Now, the president indicated he would speak again or communicate again if there were further developments, and there are questions to be identified about what next steps there should be, and are all the resources there. Even a question about where does former President Trump go in the immediate hours ahead. He, of course, was on the road as a candidate in Pennsylvania. What is the immediate plan for his next steps? Presidents and former presidents have not only a lot of security around them, but often their homes have additional security as well. So finding a way to safely transport him, making certain of his medical situation, and then the necessary communication between the White House and the former president. Those are the things we're watching. Kristen?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House for us. Kelly, thank you. And as you have been speaking, Kelly, we are watching these chilling, horrifying images of the former president rushed off the stage, bloodied, defiant, that traditional fist pump that Donald Trump is known for as he is whisked away to get medical care. Lester Holt is back with us. Lester.
Kristen Welker, thank you. NBC's Dasha Burns is just outside that Trump rally. She was there when the shots rang out, and she is now in a sea of traffic of people still trying to leave that area, many with some pretty horrific stories to tell. Dasha?
Yeah, Lester, that's exactly right. We've been talking to people who are stuck in this traffic jam and are processing what they just witnessed. I want you to hear now from, remind me your name, ma'am?
Vanessa Asher.
Vanessa Asher. Vanessa, you were very close to the former president when this happened. Can you describe to me where you were and what you saw?
We were 6 rows back, right in front of his podium, straight back. And he was talking about his chart on this side. And he put he was looking directly at his chart. And when he went over to this one, that's when he was grazed here. He was shot. And if he would not have looked at his other chart, it probably would have got him in the head.
So he turned his head just in the nick of time.
Yes, he did. In the nick of time.
And Lester, let me just explain to you, and I want to follow up with you more, Vanessa, but this is what we were talking about earlier. I'll send it back to you, Lester.
I apologize. Things are moving quickly here. We're apparently hearing from the former president himself. Hallie Jackson has it. Hallie?
It is a new post on his online platform, Truth Social, Lester, in which the former president says, and I will read this in full, because obviously this is the first time that we are now hearing from the former president himself since this incident at his rally in Butler. He says, I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, the former president continues, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. He goes on to say, it is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. He also adds, nothing is known at this time about the shooter who is now dead. The former president says he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. You're looking at that online post now. So he is confirming, he says that he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear. He says, I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. And he ends this post by saying, God bless America. So, Lester, some significant questions that are being answered now from the former president here as to what happened, as to how he's doing, as to his state of mind. And again, significant in that he is describing in rather vivid detail the moment when he says that bullet went through his ear. He heard the whizzing sound. You're seeing some of these images now, including some that are being circulated by his allies with the former president, his fist raised in the air. He said he felt the bullet ripping through the skin with a lot of bleeding taking place. What we don't know now is where the former president, is headed next. We understand that he is obviously getting treated at that local medical facility. We know from his son, and I will tell you from other sources that I've spoken with, that he appears to be in good spirits. That is what folks are being told, and that his son, who has spoken with him directly, says. And you see the former president able to, obviously in these videos, this image we've been showing, able to move, able to pump his fist, but you see the blood that he's talking about there on his right ear as the former president is describing what happened. Important to note here, he is also, of course, extending condolences to the person who was hurt, the person who was believed to be killed there, and thanking law enforcement for their incredibly fast response. And you saw the response, Lester, in one of these remarkable moments as it unfolded. In some quarters, in some places online, there was a live stream of this happening. Obviously, the cameras of every network in the country were on this, given that he is the presumptive Republican nominee, of course, before this happened. And you see the absolute chaos there in Butler that we've been describing from Dasha, from Jillian, from Jake and Bianca and our teams there as the rest of it unfolded there. So again, Lester, the first statement that we are getting from the former president himself, posted as Donald Trump is wont to do, posted on an online platform there on Truth Social as he's looking to get the message out immediately, as quickly as he can, it appears, to the American people, that he appears to be okay, that he's extending his condolences, and specifically what happened, as he says, that bullet hit his ear, Lester.
Yeah, incredible to look at how close that was to hitting a vital area of him. That first description from the former president himself. Hallie Jackson, thanks very much. Our senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us. Kelly, you have a new statement from President Biden.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go to Garrett Hake right now. Garrett?
Lester, in reading that statement from Donald Trump, confirming that, in fact, he was shot in this incident in Butler tonight, I think about the times that I've discussed his safety with members of his campaign over the last year or so, and there has always been tension and awareness in the minds of Donald Trump's campaign staff, even at senior levels, of the risk that he takes every time he goes out. Campaign officials will tell you that he gets an enormous amount of threats, frankly, as many politicians do across the political spectrum, and that the campaign has worked across this very long period period of time since he first announced more than a year ago that he would be running for president to balance, in some cases, his desire to hold these kind of mega rallies, these huge outdoor events, with his personal safety. They are very cautious about using what is known in the industry as OTR stops, the idea of him appearing at short notice in certain locations where folks cannot necessarily be screened in the same manner that they are by the Secret Service at events like this. And, you know, any presidential campaign thinks about the candidate's safety. It's a major part of the job. You work with the Secret Service for that reason. But this has been front and center in the minds of campaign staffers going back really since before the launch of this campaign. Obviously, an unusual campaign in the sense that here is someone who has never not had Secret Service protection from the moment he was first sworn in 2017 through this moment. And I think looking ahead now, and this is something that we're trying to report out, is what, if anything, is going to change about the Republican convention next week? Obviously, the former president was set to arrive there on Monday morning. He was expected to be in Milwaukee across those 4 days. These conventions, as many of our viewers know, are very much high security situations. Downtowns locked down days in advance. Very difficult to go in or out. What will change in the security, and what will change in the messaging of this convention? We've already seen some of Donald Trump's allies, perhaps most notably his son, Eric Trump, making use of that image on your screen right now, the fist pump from Donald Trump in the moments after we now know that he was shot, to say that this is the fighter America needs, in the words of Eric Trump and in the words of many of his allies, who I think, you know, setting aside the moment that we're in right now, and especially knowing from the former president's own lips now, or his own fingertips, I suppose, that he's going to be okay. This image of him as a fighter is so central to his political identity, so central to his campaign's strategy, and something that I'm sure will be incorporated into whatever we see of the convention next week. What changes might be taking place right now, Lester, very difficult to say. The campaign is on a complete lockdown, not talking to the press, really working through first what's going on with their candidate and what their next steps will be tomorrow and in the days ahead.
All right, we're looking at a motorcade leaving a nearby hospital that has been under heavy security here since all this happened. We have not received confirmation that former President Trump has been treated there, but we did just see look like a small motorcade leaving the area. So we'll continue to monitor that picture. Garrett, why have you here? Let's talk about what is likely on the minds of a lot of people. I mean, certainly we're looking at a case where there has been a loss of life. Another spectator has been seriously injured. But this comes as the country and Democrats are still wrestling with the issues over the President Biden's performance in the debate. And now this. I guess it'll take some days to play out as to whether we're looking at another reset and changing how people view this campaign.
I think that's right, Lester, and I think it would be a mistake to speculate on exactly what will go forward now. I can only say where it has come to now, and the campaigns that I've covered in the past, the level of intense focus and scrutiny on this presidential election here in early July is very unusual, especially for an election, I think, that a lot of people had kind of tuned out of. Essentially a battle of two incumbents, two people hugely unpopular outside of their own political bases. There was the questions about whether Joe Biden would continue in this race after that debate performance, a historically early debate, and now an intense focus on Donald Trump, on political violence. We know nothing yet about the shooter or his or her motivations. We know nothing yet about exactly why this event took place. But we know the political climate that we're in has been incredibly heated, going back for years. I cover Congress in my other role at this network, and the threat level in Congress has been a huge boost over the last several years by several factors over, more threats against members. So the political environment has changed in that sense, and the heat is turned up to a level that we're just not used to seeing in the summer, which is often the doldrums of a presidential campaign. The Veep stakes speculation is typically the kind of thing that folks in my business are talking about right now. News only for the most dialed in of the political viewers out there. Now all of a sudden we're talking about what appears to be what is being investigated as, according to our reporting, as an attempt on the life of a nominee or soon-to-be nominee of the presidency of the United States. The phrase that we are in uncharted waters is completely worn out, Lester, but here we find it once again perhaps the most appropriate way to view our political dynamic.
It certainly says it in so many ways. Thank you, Garrett. Let's bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. You have received a statement from the Secret Service. What are they saying right now?
Yeah, a new statement now putting on the record officially, Lester, what our team has been able to report out from their sources over the course of the last 2 hours or so. I will read it in full here because it's important to note what the Secret Service is saying, that during the rally in Butler tonight at around 6:15 p.m., they say a suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. They say that Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who is now deceased. The Secret Service quickly responded with protective measures, and the former president is safe and being evaluated. The Secret Service spokesperson goes on to say that one spectator was killed, two spectators were critically injured, so badly hurt. The incident is currently under investigation, and the Secret Service has formally notified the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And obviously the FBI and the Secret Service have plenty more work to do here on this front. But Lester, again, significant in that this is the official confirmation that, as we have been reporting here, the suspected shooter here is dead. 2 people have been badly hurt. 1 person was killed here in a moment that is reverberating not just in the political world, but around the country, and I will tell you around the world, with international reaction coming in from world leaders. I want to also share with you some reaction coming in from the former president's daughter, Ivanka Trump, who is posting now in just the last couple of minutes that she is thanking people for their love and prayers for her father and for other victims of today's senseless violence in Butler, Pennsylvania. She says she's grateful to the Secret Service, to law enforcement officers. She continues to pray for our country, ending by saying, "I love you, Dad." Again, from Ivanka Trump, today and always, Lester.
All right, Hallie, thank you. For our viewers just joining us as we near the top of the hour, we're on the air with breaking news. We have been for several hours now following the events involving a shooting at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally this evening. The former president has been injured. He says he was shot, and he has just posted on Truth Social that he was hit with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear. He says he felt it ripping through his skin. What I want to do here is pause for a moment, and we're going to roll the video of what happened just shortly after 6 p.m. here on the East Coast while Mr. Trump was speaking. Listen closely also to the sound of the gunshots and what's heard of the moments right after that until he is rushed into the car. Here it is.
A little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Yeah. You see KOOLAID and Lisa doing challenge on your head top. Yeah, you know what's happening when you tune in. Story times, pranks, and blogging, man. We a great big family, we the bomb squad. We on that grind to a number with a K, best believe you'll stay. You can chill with the fam like most of y'all do. You see KOOLAID, Lisa, and Nick too. With Charles and Barbie living that YouTube life. We love our fans and supporters, we a family, dude. So come on down to Bomb Squad Town, have a seat watching videos, and nobody likes to hate, keep it positive and have a nice day. Oh, I forgot, smash that like button. Bomb Squad, Bomb Squad, Bomb Squad.